Warning! This game is a fully remastered version of the original campaign from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which was released in 2009. All characters and actions are fictional. Okay, let's talk about Hans Zimmer. The problem, I've talked about this so many times, forgive me for sounding bored. The problem is, Hollywood in general, excuse me, no, that's not true. Fiction in general and Hollywood in specific have this really bad habit. They're like, hey, this was done by this big name person who's really important and well-known and well-liked. Come watch our thing. Come play our game. This is Tom Clancy's The Division. Ignore the fact that he was dead before the game came out. This is Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. Tim Burton had almost nothing to do with the construction of the film. This is score by Hans Zimmer, who actually didn't compose any of the music for the theme, etc., etc. It's really, really common and frustrating as hell. Because you have to actually go digging to find out who's where, because there's rules about who you have to credit. And then there's patterns about who they do credit. If you've watched my Star Trek Ruminations, I complained about this over there too, because the written by, story by credits are not necessarily done for people who wrote the story or who actually wrote the script. They're just the credits that they give, right? Like that's how that works, because who they actually credit are not necessarily people who were involved in the production of the thing. And that's really frustrating to deal with because, you know, obviously you kind of want to know who actually did the freaking work of a particular product. Now, here's the funny thing. Games usually have this problem less than movies. You'll only really see this pop up with nice, big, you know, large-scale or AAA type games. Like this one. Music by Hans Zimmer, except not quite. He did do some songs for this. I'm saying some songs because when I actually looked it up, I saw that he actually did work on one of the songs, and I was just mentioning in chat that he worked on the intro song. But I don't remember right now, because it's been a few years since I looked it up, which specific songs, or if there was just one that he worked on. And trust me, you gotta go digging for that kind of info. Like, if you just pull up Wikipedia and look at... No, that's not what I mean when I say go digging. I don't mean Google it. I mean actually doing your frickin' job. And by your job, I of course mean my job, because that's my job. So the credit thing is frustrating. But at least with voice acting, it's usually fairly distinct and notable if you could tell who's a frickin' voice actor. Like, we're about to hear Keith David. And it's Keith David. And thank God they're not going to do anything with, like, AI or whatever to try and mimic people's voices. So it starts getting debatable if it's actually an actor involved in a project. That would be terrible. This is actually a prequel to Mass Effect. Think about it. Think about Space Wizard Makarov. And then this being a prequel to Mass Effect, and it just lines up so much better. Hollywood nonsense is actually exactly what it sounds like. It's when action movie logic is more important than proper storytelling. It's when things don't actually line up, or are not self-contiguous, or are insane, or are crazy, or wouldn't work that way, but it's okay because it's an action movie, or it's a Hollywood movie, or whatever, right? It's the reason why, let's just name some examples right off the top of my head. It's the reason why the out-of-control cop who doesn't play by the rules, nevertheless gets results, always gets their person, and that person always goes to jail and or gets shot, and they never get in trouble for anything that they do. That's Hollywood logic right there. Transformers 3. Yes, all of Transformers 3 is Hollywood logic. Yeah, the more you have... Okay, so it's really easy. Hang on. I'm actually going to put a timestamp here. Let's explain Hollywood nonsense in the simplest way possible. The more you have to turn off your brain to enjoy the work of fiction, the more Hollywood nonsense it has. That's it. That's it.
Break's over, Butch. Let's go.
I try to keep it up to date. So, as someone who has a little bit of problem with heights, I actually used this analogy just last week. Big old silo, just filled with grain, okay? Every single one of those grains is someone who's streaming. And I throw my grain into that list. Put simply, when something is a high-profile release, as you just pointed out, it actually has a substantially smaller chance to be seen or be watched if I stream it while it's a whole high-profile thing. There's actually a lot of different angles to take on this. First of all, obviously, less people watching it. That's the first and most important thing. There's no real benefit to doing it from a professional or business perspective because I will have a lot of immediate and direct competition with a lot of other things. It's the exact same reason why when a particular mobile game or video game or movie is very successful, immediately trying to do the same thing is actually a losing strategy because you're already competing with someone who already has the infrastructure necessary to maintain that monopoly. Make sense? Yeah, I don't chase the trend because that's actually a losing strategy. Second point, from a personal perspective, I tend to prefer to have a little bit of time for a game to settle before I actually dive into it. So I have a little bit more resources, a little bit more information, maybe some patches get a chance to go live. You know, maybe there's a game that came out that I was really excited about that I shouldn't stream for whatever reason, of which there are actually quite a few. That's actually something that has happened. And yes, terrible releases has bit by bit been becoming a little bit more common of a trend. Third reason, if you guys want me, like as a group, to stream a game when it comes out, you have the power to do that. You always have. The reason we streamed Metroid Dread at release is because it was funded before it came out. The reason we streamed Elden Ring a week after it came out was because you guys funded that 2 years before it came out, and so forth, and so on. You have that power. Now, Madman Roby, help me out here, asks another related question. How much money is normally required per game? So it doesn't work that way. I don't charge money, I charge interest. The way that system works is more people putting towards a game, more money put towards a game. Both of these mathematically increase the interest. The reason I do it this way is that rather than charging a flat amount, like saying $2,000 or whatever, for a particular game to come out, or rather than charging dollars per hour so that I can continue to do things like pay rent, instead, Robbie, I'm going to try to remember that. No promises. Madman Robbie. Okay. I swear I'm going to try. So the idea is a lot of people do not have the money to really put into the show. So I have a bunch of little backup little features to allow people to try and still have a say in what we stream, even though they can't really support me financially. That's why the bits exist, or not the bits, excuse me. The lore coins exist so that people who just watch the show can decide, hey, I'd like to put some interest towards such and such. That's why the plural system works, which we just recently implemented this year to allow people to have more choice, even though I make less money from it. And it's also why I charge interest instead of charging money. Now, how much interest I charge per stream, I can't actually give you a direct answer to that. I can tell you the exact number right now. It's 325.73. But that changes regularly. The reason it is such a precise number is I actually keep very careful track on multiple spreadsheets on exactly the ratio of how many games I run versus how many games are funded. And I use that to kind of adjust the price bit by bit, up, down, and in between. It's been doing this over the years. It's never been a static amount because the idea and the goal is to have it so that the amount of games run is roughly equal to the amount of games funded. Make sense? Where can I find your formula for how much money it would take to fully fund a game? I feel like I just answered that. But I'm not revealing that formula live because the last 2 times I've done that, people have decided to be scummy and try to game the system. So no is the answer to that question. Do I have a system capable of surviving if I double or have 10 times the viewership? God, I hope so. I mean, first of all, I could just increase the price. If I start making 10 times the money, then I could just start charging 10 times the price, or whatever number is actually accurate, because that's a linear expression, and life is more complicated than that. So I probably wouldn't charge 10 times. It'd probably be a much smaller amount times, right? So, you know. the hard part would be keeping up with chat, because I do try to keep up with chat. Even when I'm playing a game like this, where it's very hard to keep up with chat. As I'm doing right now. Is FF7R2 funded? FF7R2 is nowhere. And I think that answers everything. Oh, you were curious to... What would it take to sponsor a Shadowrun block? That's a good question. The first answer to that question is... See, the problem is, I do charge per hour. The reason I do that is because life. Now, if that doesn't sound obvious, well, then I'll try to explain a little bit more right after I write this down. So that's Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. I try, Luis. I do fail. Obviously, I don't pick up on everything, but I do try very hard to read chat and respond, because, duh, right? Like, it's a stream. Isn't that, like, the point of streaming? If I wanted to just play a game and comment on it, I'd do a YouTube video. Sorry, it just irritates me. Planescape, Torment, and Pentiment. Thank you very, very much, Voice of Authorita. So, why do I charge per hour? A lot of reasons. Time is, of course, the ultimate currency. I've said that many, many times. However, the ultimate reason is because if I don't charge per hour, then the stream schedule will go wildly out of control, as it did, and we have been recovering from for literally 3.5 years now. Here's the deal. I only have X amount of time to stream. I only have X amount of time to stream. That's a flat problem. So if in 1 week, hang on, so it's if in 1 week 70 hours get funded, I am now behind because I can only stream 50 hours. Now, I'm saying that because if I don't charge by hour, then I'm not tracking how much is being funded per hour. Like if I charge per game, and 3 games get funded, and one of them's 5 hours, and the other one's 5 hours, and the other one's 60 hours, then that is 70 hours of content that has been funded in a period of time where I can only stream 50. Make sense? Yeah, there's only so much I can do. And so what happened was I did that for a long time, and slowly tried to acquiesce to increasing the price bit by bit. First, I actually started charging per hour. Then I started increasing the price per hour, and so forth and so on, until I came up with the system we currently use, which is the dynamic price change thing for interest. Because what happened is we built a gargantuan queue, a colossally huge queue that I am still slogging through. If you look at the website, look at the upcoming page, a decent chunk of those games are there and have been funded for years, because I am still slogging through the queue from when I wasn't charging per hour. That queue used to be much bigger and much worse. I actually did a lot of extra streaming over the last 3 years, which I quit last August, I want to say. So from previous August and then back about 3 years, I started streaming 5 hours and 5 hours. So I did that. And then we stopped Lore Weeks and Streaminations for about a year. So I was actually streaming, I think it was 70 total hours per week to try and push through that queue. That hurt. I don't want to sound complainy. That hurt. This is an unpleasant mission. It is done well, in my opinion, and it is done to good effect because of various reasons I'm not going to bore you with right now. I also think that they made absolutely the right call, because there are actually 2 separate ways in order to not participate in this mission, to not force the player to be complicit. Number 1, there's an option when you start the game, which we already showcased earlier, that says, hey, do you want to just skip that? If you do, you skip right to the actual mission, which happens after the slaughter. The second thing is what we're about to do. We're not going to pull the trigger. We're not going to become part of what's about to happen. The reason I bring this up is because this is pretty much the exact thing that Spec Ops: The Line got wrong. Because what Spec Ops: The Line did was not only did it force you, force you to participate in something stupid, but it didn't design that well. It was actually bad railroading. So first, it forces the player to do something horrible, and then second, it also, on top of that, did it really badly. So it was two separate negatives baked into one there. And I only point that out because when we were covering Spec Ops: The Lines, I specifically brought up this mission. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Spec Ops didn't force me. I could have stopped playing the game, and I'm never going to stop making fun of that stupid goddamn quote.
Regroup in the restaurant.
Just hang on, hang on. Give me a sec. Give me a second. I'll be right with you. I like to call that screw that guy in particular. Nope, nope, there's just the country of Europe, Savicon. It's cool, it's cool. Yeah, Majakarov. Magic... No, it's what... I figured it out. I figured it out. All the writers back in, like, the 70s were playing a lot of Risk. And they thought that Risk was like a factually realistic board, like a map of the world. And every writer, of course, those were the classic writers of cinema. And so all the writers who came after them learned from them, and it's just been passed down throughout the generations that that's what the world actually looks like. It explains everything. Think about it. Yeah, no, it didn't work for just about every scene I thought about. For different reasons, too. That's the funny part. Hey, maybe you want to not be where you are. I warned him. Shepard is absolutely forcing a lot of the attention onto Makarov as the scapegoat for everything that's going on. And it constantly is portraying it as if we take out Makarov, we win. Which is funny. Because I wanted to comment... I know, one of these days I'll stop talking about Modern Warfare 3. But I wanted to comment on it because I feel like when they were designing Modern Warfare 3, some of the writers saw all the emphasis on kill Makarov, win, didn't realize it was an in-universe lie, didn't realize the fact that the entire series so far has been anti-get one person win. That's Wolfenstein territory. And instead, played it straight. We kill Makarov, we win. Oh my god. Alright, now. You know, while we're here, it occurs to me the problems with Modern Warfare 2 to 3 are very similar to the problems with Mass Effect 2 to 3. Because the thing is, in many ways, Mass Effect 3 is just all the problems of Mass Effect 2 magnified without the good to cover it. And the same thing with Modern Warfare 3. They took the bad, made it worse, and got rid of the good. How many franchises can we point to where that's a thing, especially in a trilogy? Okay, fine. Where are they? Oh god! Oh god!
Open the door! Almost there.
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus! Don't mind me! Don't mind me! We're fine! We're fine! Run! Nope, Walker. I got this. And then I'll never do a highlight reel ever again, and we'll see if highlights ever happen ever again. Yeah.
Use the rocket for cover!
Ah! Almost perfect shot there. Did you see that?
Get the assault troops up ahead! Don't attack them head on! Move quickly and hit them from the side! Overlord! We're hit, but still in the air! We've got a massive territory in the Department of Justice! We're going in! We're losing attitude control! Take us up! If we're going down, we're taking those crabs back with us! Mayday. This is Dagger 2-1. We are going down. Ingrid Square. Alpha Bravo. Dagger 2-1, this is Overlord. Do you copy? Over. Dagger 2-1, this is Overlord. How copy? Over.
Oh, that makes me cringe. That's why. Look how little ammo we have. Look at how little ammo we have. What we got? There's a mentality here, which, ironically, they're probably going through too right now. We're dead. We've lost. Make them pay for every inch. If you're paying attention, you heard it earlier too. We're hit. Pull us up. We're gonna take out as many SAMs as we can with us. I do think this is gorgeous, by the way. The first game didn't exactly look bad, but man, the remaster looks really good. Props to the graphics designers, texturers, and all the people who made this look good. Because it's not just like, look at that. The snow, the way it's diffusing the light, the positioning and patterning of the trees, how much of the trees have leaves, how much of them don't, the way the snow is gathering on the ice and the other snow, the way the snow is falling off the rocks, the way that there's color distinction to give you, and usage of shadows to give an idea of where you're going. Like, this is very well designed. Yeah, it doesn't have the Hoth problem, exactly.
Come in, Sat-1. This is ISS Control. Houston's requesting a feed from your helmet cam, over. They want you to look over towards the dark side of the Earth. It should be cresting the horizon about 15 degrees east of the starboard PV rays. There it is. We're getting your feed, Sat-1. Come in, Houston. Are you getting this?
Copy that, ISS. Video feed from Sat-1 is clear. Sat-1, keep tracking the bogey. We're looking into it. Stand by.
Houston, we're not scheduled for any satellite launches today, are we?
ISS Houston, stand by. We may have a problem here.
Houston, this is ISS.
Now, before I go forward, let's be very clear. The scene we just saw was very Hollywood. I just kind of don't care in this one specific spot. Let me reiterate something I say all the time. Even something bad, a bad trope or whatever, can be done properly. And that was a very powerful moment. Less to story. And it comes down to the details, right? A very large amount of effort and work was put into making that look as terrifying and horrifying as possible. There's a pretty good chance we shouldn't have been able to physically see a missile from at least 800 or 900 miles away. Like, that's kind of very off the top of my head. Because it looks like we were down around, say, Central America, and that was hitting in DC. So whatever that is, that's about the distance, right? So we probably shouldn't be able to see that stupid thing. But when it goes off in the middle of a dialogue. We lose the radio. If you're paying attention, there were what I'm going to refer to as space music, space sound effects. There was a audio, there was a soundscape going on, which is very normal when it comes to showing that kind of a scene. You've probably heard it before if you've seen any movie set in space before. I don't mean like Star Trek. I mean like astronauts or NASA or whatever, right? And then 1,800 miles. There we go. There's our distance. Thank you. And we see that whoosh. All that soundscape goes away. Just like that. And then all we hear is the astronaut who is suddenly freaking the hell out, as anybody would in that circumstance. That astronaut is probably having a legitimate panic attack at the sight of what they absolutely know is a nuke going off over DC. Then the wave hits, and they're dead. Then we get to this nonsense. This is where the Hollywood thing once again comes into play, because a lot of the stuff that's happening here is because Hollywood. All the nitty-gritty, people for years and years, ever since this game has come out, have gone down the list and written out all the many things that would not happen in this particular mission we're about to do. Because of physics, or because of reality, or because of tech, or because of whatever. But it's still a really, really good mission. You see the problem I'm in here, right? By the way, very minor detail. We've actually had access to a radar the whole game. I've shown it off a couple of times. You notice we don't right now.
You going out there? Are you nuts?
Now, I talk so much about sound design in this game. Listen.
It's over. Come on. We still have a war.
In fact, I'm going to shut up for a bit. Just listen.
What the hell happened here?
Oh man, it's quiet. Is your red dot working? Mine's out.
Mine's down too. This is weird, bro.
Yeah, this is in the local National Guard. These are some high-level people.
You're up.
Relatively speaking.
Clear.
Small detail. Our hands are still scarred. You see that under the gun?
Copy that.
I don't think that was in the original. Come in from the storm. Soundscape changes again.
Cover me!
We will report our mission on direct visual contact at this counter 30 seconds.
Let's 30 seconds! We gotta get to the roof now! Go! Go! Get to the roof! Move! Use your flares!
Gotta admit, that's a sight.
Countersign detected at Whiskey Hotel. Aboard. We got a countersign. Abort mission. Aborting weapons release. Rolling out.
So, when we going to Moscow?
Still the most terrifying line of the whole game.
But I know we're gonna burn it down when we get there.
When the time's right, Corporal. When the time's right.
We got one good UMP. They've got 1,000. We don't even know if Makarov's intel's any good. Price? Price?
The healthy human mind doesn't wake up in the morning thinking this is its last day on Earth. But I think that's a luxury, not a curse. To know you're close to the end is a kind of freedom. Good time to take inventory. Outgunned, outnumbered, out of our minds on a suicide mission. But the sand and rocks here, stained with thousands of years of warfare, they will remember us for this. Because out of all our vast array of nightmares, this is the one we choose for ourselves. We go forward like a breath exhaled from the earth, with vigor in our hearts and one goal in sight. We will kill him.
I'll wait for you at the exfil point. 3 hours. Don't bother. This was a one-way flight, mate. Then good luck, my friend. Slava Boga.
Peace, Nikolai. I love that intro. I love that speech. I talked about this during the lore run. Part of what I like about that intro is it's ultimately a culmination of the theme of Modern Warfare 1 and 2. Hear me out, because this is going to sound strange. At no point is this being approached like, if we kill Shepard, we win. None of that's here. None of that attitude is present. This isn't beat the final boss and the base explodes. This isn't topple one leader and peace will follow. This is just for revenge. We have decided that for all Shepard has done, he needs to die, and therefore this is the last act we will take. And I love that acknowledgement, that honesty, that earnestness of it. And again, it boils down to everything this whole franchise has been about. This is not about good or right or justice or anything. This is just about killing Shepard, to ensure that one horrifically evil man does not live to profit from his actions. Nothing more. Now, Shepard has had a lot of characterization in this game. Really. Yeah, by the way, no deaths. I'm actually really happy about that. Shepard's had a lot of characterization in this game. It's just most of it is only really visible the second time through. those big speeches he gives towards the early part of the game, none of that is... You look at that and you think it's just typical, this is a war game narration. It's not. It's actually Shepard speaking to his philosophy, speaking about how he thinks and defining him as a person and his motives. Let me tell you something that I don't want to talk about, because it is controversial. We're going to lift the polemic flag for one little peek. Okay, you ready for this? The reason this is still polemic is because this still happens today. This is still a current issue. I've heard it called a lot of different things. The Tyranny's textbook, for example, or the Tyrant's textbook might actually be a better way to phrase that. And Mr. Red's dead. The thing is, the way it works is you have to set up a couple of specific things. You have to make yourself seem strong. What that is depends on the culture, on the location, on what level of power you're going for. But you need to make yourself seem strong. You need to mock and belittle the people who are not you. And then there's something very important you have to do. You have to identify the other. Whoever the other is, you vilify them. You scapegoat them. You prey on people's already built-in dislike or outright hatred of the other. Doesn't matter what they are. Literally does not matter. Because all that matters is that they are the current target. Now, if you're paying attention, Imram Zakhaev in the first game did that one-to-one. He identified an other and built up the ultranationalist faction around him based on fighting that other. Foreigners, other nations, Americans, interferers, yada, yada, yada. All the while building up a nuclear arsenal and constantly trying to interfere with both American affairs and other nations' affairs. Because, of course, there has to be some bullcrap in all this, right? So, Zakhaev played by the rulebook. And so does Shepard. Shepard has built an other. He has designed and constructed this entire scenario within reason, specifically so that he can become effectively a tyrant. He's not going to take over the United States. It doesn't work that way. But he has been playing the book to the letter this entire time.
5 years ago, I lost 30,000 men in the blink of an eye. And the world just fucking watched. Tomorrow, there will be no shortage of volunteers. No shortage of patriots. I know you understand.
Remember how this game started? Right click, left click, right click, left click. That's it. 3 dead men in the desert. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do some comparisons here, okay? We're going to compare this against 2 other games in particular. No, we're going to compare it against 3. Those games are Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare R, and Titanfall 2. If you don't know why I'm comparing those, same devs. So, let's go, let's just, hang on, let's do it this way. Let's make this nice and easy. I've got this set up on this way on purpose. So, story-wise, the worst of that bundle is Modern Warfare 1, which had a plus 19 to story. Modern Warfare 1 was 19, and then... No, I'm wrong. Titanfall 2 was actually only 11. Excuse me. So Titanfall 2 was 11. We haven't actually reviewed Infinite Warfare under the current system, Andrew. Titanfall 2 was 11 to story. Modern Warfare 1 was 19 to story. Modern Warfare R was 21 to story. Modern Warfare 2 is 39 to story. That's 5.94 pluses per hour in density and a 95.35% ratio. That's bonkers. Gameplay. So let's reorder these a little bit here. At the bottom of that bundle in gameplay is Modern Warfare 1 with plus 13 to gameplay. Then Modern Warfare R with 21. By the way, you'll notice all of these are good scoring games. Like, we're comparing against each other, but still, that's very good for FPSs. Anyways, so, Modern Warfare R is plus 21 to gameplay. Modern Warfare 2 is 29 to gameplay, which of course loses out to Titanfall 2, which was an astonishing 34 to gameplay, which also makes it the best gameplay of any FPS we've covered. In terms of other numbers, that makes Modern Warfare 2 a 4.41 plus per hour density and a ratio of 89.19%. That's insane. Now, if we look at the golden number, the very bottom is... These just dominate the FPSs. The only other FPS up in the top 5 is Halo Reach, which is a damn good game. So at the bottom we have Modern Warfare 1, which got a 92.84. Slightly above that we have Titanfall 2, which has 136.02. As a reminder, anything over 100 is excellent. Very few games beat the 100 marker, and even less go beat the 200 marker, but anyways. Above Titanfall 2, just barely, is Modern Warfare R with 145.44. And yes, that means Modern Warfare 2 beats it all at 247.36. Making it the current best FPS I have covered. A statement I stand behind.